Hello and welcome to this Reuters webinars specifically focused on how to own the AI shift, which is pervading all of your organizations. Today we have an eminent panel, and I will give them an opportunity to introduce themselves one by one. But the reason why this webinar is very timely is because we all have had a chance to experiment with AI, and we have now an opportunity to draw the lessons. So my own background is in content creation, and as you can imagine, we have been severely disrupted, but this has also given us an opportunity to experiment with AI. And so I will guide the conversation with our panel in order to give you some of the best and the most insightful elements that they have extracted from their own experience. I would also like to give you a gentle reminder that every one of the speakers today on the panel are expressing their own views and not the views of their organization. So bear that in mind. And I think that this allows us to free the conversation a little bit more as well. So without further ado, I'd like to start by introducing Iria Gala, who will tell us about where she's coming from, what she's doing.
Thank you, Sabine. So I'm Iria. I'm taking care of digital and customer engagement in Novo Nordisk for what is called international operations. So that means the world's US. As you clearly said, AI is here already for a few years, I must say, and all of us are in an accelerated learning curve. We are learning, failing, learning with some successes, so happy to share today.
And then to Nejati.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nejati. I am the Field and Digital Transformation Head for GSK International Markets. And today we will discuss about the AI and something that about me. So I write also books. So I published 6 of them, and one is about the future of healthcare and digitalization. So we will tell stories today. So if we tell a lot, so please stop us. But it will be an engaging discussion, and we will go deeper in the AI one.
And Angela?
Thanks, Sabine. Hi, everyone. I'm Angela Duffy. I lead the strategy and operations in Astellas's global customer capabilities function. I'm based in London, and I'm very happy. Thank you for having me today. Very happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. So I also would like to remind our audience that they are very welcome to drop in questions as the discussion unfolds in the chat, because we will be addressing some of these questions at the end. So don't hold back, feel free to share. So I'd like to really start the discussion around, the art of upskilling and embedding AI into your pharma commercial workflow by asking each of our panelists whether since the beginning of this whole AI revolution, they have changed their opinion as to what AI can actually do for them in supporting their pharma commercial workflow specifically, and just tell us why their opinion has changed. So maybe Angela, you wanna start on this?
Sure, Simon. That's a very good question, very relevant, because I think over time, of course, our viewpoints have changed, and they will keep evolving. But I think there's been a lot of noise. There continues to be a lot of noise, and really, I think many of us saw AI in pharma and commercial workflows that would probably be useful for productivity, for helping us, summarizing reports or drafting content, creating presentations, market research, and they are still useful use cases. But I think now we're at a point of inflection, and I think now it's going beyond that. So it's going beyond those use cases, and it's not. It's really about business transformation now. It's about where are we taking it. It now affects operational design. It affects talent. It's people. It's the workflows are much more extensive. So it's really moved from really functional technology add-ons. I think that's what it was in the past, and now it's going into business transformation.
Thank you, Angela. So maybe Irja, do you want to step in on following up on what Angela has shared?
Yes, and I couldn't agree more. I think, most of us started already a couple of years, probably 3 years ago, when Copilot came. And we said, okay, this is going to be amazing. Someone is going to rewrite the emails for us that is very relevant for the ones that we are not native English speakers. Then we said, okay, maybe we can do some summaries. Oh, that's super cool. The reality is, in my case, I challenge myself probably every month, because when you feel that you know what is it, you realize that something new is coming. So I'm now fascinated for a couple of days, couple of weeks, that now you can talk to ChatGPT and you can have a proper conversation like with someone that you can even interrupt. And it's remembering what you said and the tone you talk and whatever it is. Funny enough, my personal ChatGPT is identifying herself as a female. So it's funny to see, how they start having their own personality of what it means. So I cannot agree more with Angela that at the beginning, most of us, we thought, okay, is productivity? Maybe they can be like admin task. Right now, we realize it can really change and redesign complete workflows. So I think the sky is the limit. It's much more for us how we embed, how we embrace, and how we accompany the company to make it work.
Okay, and maybe Nechati has some views as well as to how his perception has evolved over time since, this whole AI wave has hit the pharma organizations that you work with.
Sure, I can comment. So at the very beginning, we were just thinking, I will have a use case, I will have a business problem, I will merge that, and that is the AI world. But when you go deeper, what you are realizing, it is not about the tools or technologies, okay? It's totally a different ball game. And what I realize when I go deeper and working in the international area, it is not about the technology anymore. It is an organizational decision-making problem, okay? And what we are observing is, who will do that? Shall I buy it? Shall I develop it? Shall I do it for the global? Shall I do it for the countries? In which use case do we need to do? So if you look at all these questions, it's a very complex dynamic. And that is why what I'm observing with the AI, it creates a significant complexity on decision making. And you cannot say that there will be a steer committee sitting at whatever level up there. They will make the brilliant decisions on what we need to do. AI is an operational transformation. So it needs to be so close to the operation. So that's why you need to find the right balance on what we need to do, bottom-up development on the decision-making of these people. Top, yes, they need to be influencing and guiding, but the decision-making in every layers and every comment is right because no one knows the answer. So that is why, as organizations, I think we need to learn how we can break the silos, talk on it, and then go with this flow, and then learn the AI together. So it's a big change for all of us, but I believe we will tackle it well.
Okay, so I'd like to follow up on this notion that you have to operate in a setup where there's a lot of uncertainty, which is inherent to the fact that we don't know exactly how AI is going to change the workflows, but we already we don't have benchmarks and we don't know what good looks like yet. We only know what good looks like in the old world before that technology came about. So maybe some of you may want to comment on how you've been handling that uncertainty within the teams that you've worked with.
Yeah. Sabine, maybe I'll build on that because you're right. There's a lot of ambiguity. And when we're talking about business transformation, it's people transformation. And it's also, so it's really cultural. Culture is at the heart of this transformation. It can make people, there's a fear factor, this low level stress for all different reasons. But mindsets and behaviours are key. And we need to make sure our people are still engaged, but support them along the journey. And it needs to go, I think as Najadi says, it's right up to, this is right up to the board. board level decisions, AI is touching its transformation across the company, all the way from R&D right all the way up to commercial, what we're speaking about today. And there's lots of very senior stakeholders, but values, behaviours, mindsets are absolutely critical for people. And to work in this ambiguous now, it's a new way of working. And the comfortable environments almost do not exist anymore. I mean, I feel almost nervous to share that with everyone, but we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's just now the new normal.
So during the prep call for this discussion, I think Iria had a special standpoint about how the digital natives who didn't know any different, about than operating in the digital world, and now more readily, adopt those AI tools as the next best thing without even questioning its existence. Maybe there's something to be done with the help of these younger members of the team. Iria, do you have something to say about this?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm probably, if I can also contribute to what Angela said, something that I've been doing the last months is.
I don't know. I think this connection is not working well. We may need to reconnect Iria. So in the meantime, I don't know, Nechati, do you have any experience?
Sure, I can comment. I think Iria is not here. Okay, let me comment. So I will look at from a different angle on the question. So how we want the adoption of the AI in the mindset of the people, and you will hear a lot of buzzwords called change management. Okay, it is everywhere. We need to do change management in any AI program or digital transformation program. It is one of the slides that the product owners is presenting. So that is why what I was just reflecting on, do we know what do we mean? If I talk to a communication person, it talks about it's a message. If I talk to a training person, it says that, yeah, we will do a training session. So I don't think we really understand how we can touch the life and the hearts of the people. And change management is the art of a process of how you need to manage the stakeholder decisions, who will be deciding, the change agents, training. So it's a complex process that you need to deal with. But then you need to do it with the art of connecting to the people. So we all believe that we need to change the mindset. But as an organization, do we know how to do it in a structured way? I don't think we are there yet. So, and from a theory, what we know, if you do the change management right, it is 7 times more exponential impact than a normal tech tool for the same tech tool I'm talking about. Okay, so this is one big area of an exponential impact, and we are still focusing a lot on process, people, the technology, and the tools itself, and spending less in here. So if you want to do AI transformation in the hearts and the minds of the people, I think there's an organizational skill that we need to embed on change management specifically.
And have you had, in your own experience, was there a particular program in your organization where you've had to deal with this? And,
sure.
What are the lessons?
So for me, like up to now, so I'm leading around 10 to 20 programs for the international where we discuss AI programs. And for each of them, we are discussing the change management as the core of it. But what we are focusing on is creating small, bit-sized habits activities that it can impact the life of the user itself. So it's not about training.
Could you give us an example, like a concrete example of activity that would work well with your team?
So basically, we are doing a lot of kind of reminders, correct, for the Salesforce. Okay, recommendations, reminders, what they need to do. So if you look at in the day of a rep, okay, every week when they are having a discussion with the FLSLs, okay, what is the discussion that needs to happen in that meeting? So we are going to that micro moment, and if we change that micro moment and the discussion about a coaching element using the AI tools, that change the discussion. So you need to find the micro moments if you want to embed the AI tools in the life of an organization. So every country has different examples, and this is a local touch. But the important part is the art of doing the change management, and you need to go deeper on that. And my suggestion to everyone, guys, go to ChatGPT and search for it. So there is a lot of science and the theory about that. So
that might not be an approved chatbot for your organization, but you can do it in your spare time, surely. So we have Iria back. Did you want to say any more about the art of harnessing the can-do attitude of the youngest members of the team, or were you?
Yes, and I hope you can hear me now. And this
Yes.
is the reality that we have nowadays. We need to adapt to when things don't go how they were expected. And I think we are not so used to that in pharma. That is what happens with the new generations. They are used to have all this reality. They are used to have whatever movie they want on their finger. They are used to have the new chapter. They don't have to wait 2 weeks or 1 week, how it was the reality for all of us. So we can learn a lot from them. And what I did already in one of the past companies I was, and it's something I was really trying to do in the current one, is to do what is called reverse mentoring. So it's extremely relevant for senior leaders to have the young generation teaching them, how to use ChatGPT, how to use the new technologies, with things can be done. And that is a little bit the reality that I've been doing in the past. And then commenting to what Angela said, I think what I've been trying to do in last months in a big transformation program we have been doing in Novo is try to bring some transparency to the uncertainty. At least we don't pretend it's not there. We are open to what is coming, what we know, what we don't know, when will we know. And I think, treating people as adults and not pretend that, oh no, everyone knows, but the reality is most of us, we don't know. Let's just embrace that reality and let's move from here.
Okay, so maybe Angela might want to step in at this stage and talk about the issue of measurement of, progress in embedding AI in your workflows.
Yeah, that's very topical. I'm sure every company has got the same challenges, and not just in pharma, across all industries, because of course there's an explosion of AI initiatives and programs, and it's almost, and some companies in pharma have taken huge, massive bets, and the other front leaders and others are really just seeing how this is going to land. Not necessarily the laggard, but maybe a more cautious approach. So, but measurement is key, because you have to show that all this investment is going to have an ROI. And that's incredibly hard, because I think, as you said at the beginning, Sabine, we've not done this before. So the use cases are incredibly thin on the ground. We don't have baselines. When you have to establish where are we at the moment and where do we need to get to in a defined time frame. Because of course these are significant, sometimes multi-million-dollar investments. The board are looking down and saying, okay, the investment has been there, but what is it delivered? So you're having to come with a very solid set of assumptions. And we're all intuitive marketeers. We have to build the assumptions, but also be prepared to have a higher risk tolerance than potentially we're used to. But really, we're having to sometimes go outside the industry and look at what the benchmarks are there. Even when you think about agentic AI, this is getting a lot of noise at the moment. Technology companies, financial services companies, they have rolled this out, they have learned from it. So we're having to go outside our kind of normal circle of influence and see how this is landing and how this is working and how it's not working as well.
Yeah, so I have a really... Sorry, Nechati, did you want to...
I want one addition to Angela's comments. So it triggered one topic in my mind. So I think that is one of the topics that we are struggling in pharma we need to justify it works. Okay, so that is the challenge on the top that we are having. But in pharma, we are working in R&D, correct? And to develop one brand, it costs £2 billion. Correct? That is the theory. And this is not the cost of 2 billion of development. it is the failure of the 99%. Okay? So we were working on 1 to 2% success rate in R&D for years. And the commercial innovation is the same. AI innovation is the same. So that is why I think we need to continue innovate. Okay, yes, we need to put the KPIs to justify whatever, but as Angela said, the risk tolerance needs to be adjusted to secure that it's a long-term run and not everything will work. And so that's why we need to focus on continuous learning and then improving the capabilities of the overall organization. So that is how I see. Maybe I am more luxurious in here. That is my reflection also.
Sure. So this risk tolerance is really at the heart of the issue, because the standard answer that you will hear is that, oh, but we're a highly regulated industry and therefore we don't do risk. The truth of it all is there are different categories of risk for different category of activity. And I can see it very well in medical affairs, where people are now confronted with the need to be producing content that's quoted, that's going to be quoted by the chatbots. So essentially, that's what we call GEO, where you create Q&A articles around your disease area that answer all the questions that either a HCP or a patient might ask about that particular therapy area without naming a product, so that ultimately your page is considered the most suitable and reliable and authoritative on the subject. And the reality of that is, if for this strategy to work, is you're going to have to cross-link so many pages around these topics, because there's so many questions around a given therapy area, that I don't believe MLR is going to be able to follow through. As we know, MLR is already clogged up as it is, whether it's for commercial or medical, actually. So, how are we going to remove a slight layer of risk acceptance when you're working on this kind of GEO content? I don't know if anyone wants to step in on this, but some companies I'm talking to at the moment have found a solution for this. But any of you want to step in on questions like this one?
Yes, happy to jump in, Sabine. And I know from peers from other pharmas, everyone is trying to find the $1 million solution that is not there, because the reality is the pharma bubble doesn't exist any longer. Where you have your bubble of control, where what you want is inside the bubble and you are the one deciding what is going to happen. That time is over. So now we need to find, where are the doctors going to go to find information? Where are the patients going to go to find information? And how do we ensure we are where they want to be? For sure, we will need to have MLR. And, I think almost every single pharma has been working with AI for MLR. I did it years ago. Yeah. I made huge mistakes, because the reality is, the problem is not the process. The problem is not the technology. The problem is the people, that they need to trust the process. And I think that is probably one of the things that Angela is trying to say is, it's not you do A and then you get B. It's not you install an agent and then you have a result. Because you install an agent, you need to change a workflow, you need to train the people, and then maybe you will get a result. I think these are the things where we are struggling. AI is one part of that, but also the social media, the digital part of the world is another angle. I think we discussed the other day, the digital opinion leaders, these doctors with 7 million followers, is not a reality any longer that in our bubble in pharma, people will come to us. They will go somewhere else. So how do we ensure they want to listen to us? So the business is becoming more challenging, probably for most of us, also much more exciting, where we can learn, we can do much more. It's an opportunity to bring this to the next level. But I think this reality, and I cannot agree more with Nejati. I've been working in customer solutions, patient services for 15 years, and people have been asking me, what is the ROI? And I always ask them, which is the ROI for a congress? You just do it because you always done it. So maybe we just need to give some space for things to sink and to move on, because the reality is there is no plan B. You cannot say, no, I'm not going to do any AI. That is not an option. So bear to digest it and move with it.
So that really nicely introduces the concept of how do we foster trust into AI processes and AI technology that you as a leader will choose to adopt and embed in your day-to-day. I mean, maybe Angela, or do you have anything to say about this issue of trust and how we can instill the trust into the tool with the right kind of formula and approach?
Yeah, and I do think, just as we've touched on, like trust almost starts with recognizing that the AI does create the excitement, but it does create this anxiety, because it's like, where do we take the bets? What do we do with it? How do we get our people to adopt the tools? So adoption is just part of the journey. And I think most people do want to, of course, within our workforces, they're excited about that. They're excited about the tools and what it can do, because there's a lot of the great advantages. A lot of these tools can remove things that we don't want to do, like the grunt work, so to say. And then that can free up time for us to focus on doing more lateral creative thinking that we need to do. And that's the competitive advantage. That's where we're trying to get to. So trust, that's part of the change management narrative as well. But also have to say on the trust element, it's not just about training our people to adopt the tools. We need to experiment. We need to create that safe environment to learn from it, to make mistakes. Always ask for feedback. That's really important. The last couple of weeks, I've had to, I've been experimenting, running various scenarios. Some you win, some you lose. You share it with senior leaders, but ask for the feedback, because sometimes it's quite obvious if things have been done in Claude or Copilot, and I think that's okay. We're not trying to almost, misrepresent ourselves. It's our responsibility to use the technology that we've all been given, but ask for feedback. And also senior leaders should be right up to the board. They need to get into these AI academies or universities, communities of practice. AI needs to be taken right through the organization. And I think that's really important for trust.
Okay, I think that's a really nice illustration indeed. In terms of, I mean, clearly you all have experimented with those technologies in your own team. I would like to ask each one of you to share a particular mistake that you have had a chance to learn from, and recognizing that mistake has actually brought you a long way in understanding how AI can actually be used in your workflow. Anyone wants to jump in?
I can comment. So I will not call it mistake, but it is the aha moment. Let me put it in that way. So what I will say, we believe that we need to teach our reps the AI tools. We need to do the change management. We need to improve their capabilities. Like I have seen a research very recently, like 85% of the doctors, they are using AI in their day-to-day life, including China, Europe, whatever, everywhere, okay? Our field force or our employees are the same. If we are assuming that they are not using AI in their daily life, we are closing our eyes. And just imagine, I am a rep, okay? I will go to a doctor, and the meeting did very well, not very good, okay? And then what I will do, if I don't have an AI tool, okay, that I can chat and I can discuss about my product and what I need to do, they will use the chat GPTs and all others. Yes, we don't give access to these platforms. They should not do it. It is the shadow of AI. They do it. Sorry, guys. We can close our eyes, but it is the reality. So that is why we have an obligation as the leaders on this area to bring the solutions that is relevant to our field force or the other employees to create that impact. So there was a need. That is why they were going there. So if we want to kill this shadow of AI challenge, for these organizations, I think we need to be much more proactive on delivering these topics. And it is not good to have anymore. It is a governance risk that it is generating. And for governance also, you need to develop this and invest in these areas. So I see a huge potential in here. I will not call it a mistake, but I was thinking these are all additional tools, okay? But realizing, I think we need to touch to the life of the people, because if you don't do, they will find their way.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else wants to share other learnings?
I'm happy to share, and Nejati probably would say mine were real mistakes. And that's okay. I needed to make them to move on. So 2 very concrete projects. One was with MLR and the other one was Nesbit's Action. In both cases, I started with technology and the workflow. And I said, we can automate everything. Technology is working. We update the process. In one of the cases, medics said, we don't trust it. So coming to what you said, Sabine, why are you giving me this? And then we had to restart the project and say, okay, which are the 3 things that you're okay to give to AI to do for yourself? And then the level of adoption went to the moon. The second one with the Nesbit's Action, the field force in one concrete market, in 2 markets was working perfectly. In one concrete market, it was not working. And after a few weeks, for sure, we reviewed the data, we reviewed the algorithm, we reviewed the flow, we reviewed everything until we went to the field. And I was going in the field. The good thing for me was Spain. So after a few dinners and drinks, they said, you know what? We have a WhatsApp group. And then we coordinate and say, let's say wrong, because we are not going to be replaced by this. So again, instead of talking to the people and explaining why this is coming, this is a tool for you, how to use it, I started with, I have a solution for a problem. So it was, Nejati, as you said, a huge learning. It was also a mistake, but I had to make it at that moment on time to move from there and see how to take it to the next level.
So we're back to the discussion on change management in this particular
100%.
example. Angela, do you want to share some of the lessons?
Yeah, maybe 2 things. I'll try and be quick. Number 1, don't underestimate how long it takes to align, because now there's so many senior stakeholders. And of course, now that it's not technology add-on, it is business transformation, that it is a lot more alignment you have to do with what we've previously discussed, where you need to share the ROI. And that just takes time. And so it should. It's incredibly important, but you just need to build that into your timing plan. The second thing I would also say is we are in a sense of, and I'm sure this is the same with the other panelists, there's some great ideas coming through. I mean, we're not suffering from a lack of ideas, but we can, and I was reading about this a couple of weeks ago, and it's true. Let's not just find ourselves in pilot purgatory, they had called it, where we've got so many pilots that we need to ruthlessly then prioritise what we're doing, because you're then in a danger of just overlaying all the time pilots on top of existing workflows. And then it will create a mess, actually. And then we actually don't know which ones are actually creating the value and the greatest impact. So that's what I would say is 2 watch-outs.
Yes, famously, the pharma industry has more pilots than the airline industry. That's not for me. It's been quoted many times.
I haven't heard that one before.
Anyway, all right. So it looks like you all had your fair share of learnings, but in a way, if you take a step back in history, how different is it from the time where people starting using computers, moving away from typewriters and phone and things like that? I mean, are we one scale higher in terms of change compared to previous technology revolution, which happened and people survived? It's the same with the electronic calculator. When it was introduced, people were scared that no one will ever do math ever again. And guess what? Here we are. So we're doing more than ever before. I mean, isn't there a risk that we're actually going to end up doing far more product or a project than we can actually cope with. I mean, that's the impression I get from AI, because every AI pilot or full-blown project adds on to the workflow, the work responsibility of people who are managing it, because they don't understand the implications of adding AI while you're trying to check that the AI is actually doing its job. So the quality assurance or the quality control, the measurement of the effectiveness is actually adding so much more work. I mean, have you experienced that yourselves as well?
So I can comment, but I will look at from a different dimension. I'm not against the pilots. We need to do the pilots at the right place. Okay. Generally, if you are trying to do pilots at global level, they fail, because you are trying to fix a process for everyone, and you are trying to say that, yeah, this is the new way of working, deploy it. You totally omit the local adaptation, the capabilities, the culture, and all others. So if you want, what I'm learning, and a mistake, you can call it as a mistake still, as a learning, what I've observed, if you start piloting from global, generally they fail more. If you pilot in the LOC, close to the customer, close to the operation, and give autonomy to the markets, where they can pilot this, not internally, but maybe with a vendor. And then if it works, then you can scale it with that vendor or the other vendors, or bring it internally. So that is why, for me, the piloting graveyard, you cannot have it everywhere, but if you manage the balance right, what you develop in-house, what you need to pilot where, which markets needs to do whatever, because the markets know the challenge much, maybe 1-2 years earlier than the global understand that's the challenge. And that is the area you need to start. So I think if we tweak the piloting part in a different way, I think we can handle it. So, but it's a tough case, so which we have a lot of learnings and mistakes, you can call it.
And Sabine, I think if may I 2 comments. On one end, I think that the main, yes, you are right, have been many disruptions before, you know, the mobile phone and internet, and then having the internet in the phone, and things have evolved and people adapted. I think that the main change now is the velocity. You know, people needed 10 years to arrive to 100 million iPhones. People needed 100 days for 100 million users in ChatGPT. So the reality is the velocity is immense at this moment in time. So it's not the opportunity any longer to say, let me think if I want to jump on this or not. Let me think if I want to learn this or not. I think that is probably this real sense of urgency at this moment in time. Mm-hmm. Not to solve every single problem, because, you know, big corporates, and Pharma, they're one of them, they're dinosaurs. You know, you cannot change the whole corporate in 12 months. But the mindset, as Angela said, needs to be there, because this is here to stay. Then, as Nejati said, you know, I am an engineer as a background. So as you can imagine, I love all these techie things. Nejati, you're with me. And, you know, I was seeing the other day the CEO of Microsoft, and he said, this is going against my business, but there are not going to be any longer software products, because now almost everyone can develop their own software. Yeah. So I agree with what Nejati said. Execution needs to be local, but the strategy needs to be global. Because it's going to be insane if every affiliate, every OPCO is creating their own workflows, their own capabilities, their own roles. So it needs to be a global strategy where they say, as Angela said, which are the 3 things to prioritize, which are the 3 big problems to solve, but then how to make it work. It needs to be really local. And again, we are not used to that. You know, we like to be everywhere. We like to have a strategy in every part of the organization. We would like to have pilots in every part of the organization. And probably this is a great opportunity for Pharma to move on and to have more specialized profiles, you know, profiles that are specialized on processes, on strategy, on capabilities, on execution, on vibe coding, or whatever you want to call it. So it's a...
So we're moving from
time, but it's here to stay.
we're moving from a top-down approach, which was the traditional, I'll give you the global messaging and then locally you can adapt it to affiliate level, from a more bottom-up approach where one country having the freedom and the independence to experiment can eventually bring the learnings back up into global. I mean, is that the kind of ideas you have, that we should give a bit more freedom to?
In my opinion, I've been in already 3 pharmas, and I've been in different type of structures. The one that I call the anarchy, where global says whatever, and then country does whatever they want. And everyone says that, yes, they do, but at the end, everyone is doing whatever they wish. I've been in the ones that is much more top-down. You do it my way or the highway. I believe that the reality right now is a democracy. So there are going to be rules, there are going to be structures, there are going to be, but then at the end, every country needs to have the freedom. And even I would go further, probably every unit in the country, and sometimes even different sales reps in the country will need to have the freedom to use the tools that bear work for them and for their customers at the end. Because as you said before, Sabina, this is not any longer of, oh, people will come to my portal, they will come to my sales rep, they will come to my things. This is not the reality any longer. So we just need to live in the new world. And I am not concerned on what you said before. This is going to create much more workload. Yes, probably during the first month, where people is going like headless chicken, right and left and right. But I truly believe it will arrive to a point where people is going to prioritize, to say what it makes sense for me. And I don't remember the numbers, but I've heard many times in the last months that pharma is going to launch minimum, every single pharma, double number of products in the next 4 or 5 years with the same or less people. So it's amazing. We have AI, we have tools, we have resources to help us, but we need to be smart on how we're going to use them.
Yeah. So I really like what you said, the fact that we finally mentioned patients and, doctors, because ultimately what we're suffering from as an industry is somewhat of a mistrust between, big pharma on the one hand, and then practitioner, healthcare professional who are individuals who are smart, highly educated, are able to make up their own mind, have critical thinking as part of their, basic skills. And I just want to share an anecdote, because, in our own transformation of embracing AI, we're developing an individual personalized newsfeed for doctors, whereby AI will create a first draft of the stories or the infographic, and then an editor, a human person, will actually check that these are proper stories that are worth sharing. But as part of this development, what we've had to do is to interview doctors. And it's like, wow, I've learned so much from this experience. And when you query doctor as to whether they will find acceptable to have pharma-sponsored content in a newsfeed that's personalized with other news that are not pharma-sponsored, that are just generic news from the publisher, what they're telling me, and I was really, really pleasantly surprised to say, I'm an individual, I have my own critical mind, I'm able to decide whether I like what the pharma is sharing with me or not. And if it's useful and it adds to my knowledge, I'm still going to listen to it. And I think we sometimes lose sight, because pharma is such a heavy organization structurally, that doctors can be trusted to listen or to follow some of the advice that you share with them, or the insight you share with them, when they make sense, when ultimately the patient benefits. So putting the patient back in the middle of the equation is really important. So perhaps some of you can piggyback on that and maybe share experiences where you can already anticipate that AI tools and processes will ultimately better serve patient and better serve the HCPs that are, looking after those patients.
Sure. So Sabine, you're right, absolutely. Like the HCPs, clinicians, they have to benefit from this, and of course the patients then too. We have to have the value add on the patient outcomes. the HCPs have hugely benefited from the progress through next best engagement or next best action, where the journeys that we've created for them through the AI innovation, they're frictionless, they're more seamless, and we've removed a lot of the unnecessary outreach that we've had. And a lot of big pharma companies and our third-party suppliers have helped us in that. And now we're on almost the next wave of how do we scale that with more markets and more brands. But you're right, it's like, how do now patients, how can they benefit from this innovation? But at the moment, and yes, from direct to consumer, that will happen. But the big pharma companies, when they're going to the HCPs, we are making those journeys better. We have got ROI from that, and we know it works. And we just keep evolving that. So it's definitely a positive momentum because it's increasing their engagement and it's faster for them, which ultimately benefits the patients.
And could you give us an example of how you've managed to do this to improve the patient journey, for instance?
Really, our reps out in the field, I mean, Najadi might even be closer to this because he's field excellence, but through the tools, we know that we can basically, through what they've done in the past, the history of how they want to behave and what their preferred channel of communication with call planning, we then serve the best piece of content for them at the right time in their journey, and it's much more personalized to them.
Okay, so that's a real big advance compared to the past. Anyone else wants to talk about patient-centric?
I can comment. So but the question is not only the AI. If you look at the number of innovation that we are discussing in pharma, it can be still digital, but still patient-centric support and the patient journey supports. So if you look at the number of innovation that we do, most potential, 95% of it goes to either internal processes or HCP engagement. Okay? And why pharma exists is to help the patients to reach to the medicine that they need, okay? Or supporting them in their journey. So let's say we have done one program. It was not AI, but it was digital, okay? But the idea was how we can transform the adherence to medicine or vaccines through a digital reminder system, okay? So it's a totally new way of looking to the patient support program systems. And then no registration, no PII, no data collection. Like we designed a tool, okay, to change the adherence to medicine. With one scan, they can have all their reminders in their systems without changing these tools.
And is it working?
It is in the 30 markets that we have deployed in. So we created as a team, and now it is in 30 markets globally. It is being used. So, but what I am saying is, we didn't use AI for that. It was digital, okay, but that's fine. AI is the technology part. And I was just chatting last week with a startup from US, okay, which they were doing HCP to patient engagement, like an avatar type of experience to have a discussion between each other. And I was discussing with them, guys, why we cannot use the same context on the HCP and to patient engagement? Pharma doesn't need to own it. Maybe an HCP association will own it. Maybe a doctor association will own it, or patient association. Pharma can sponsor still. So that is why I think we need to look at the pharma. We can do it, we cannot do it. What is the patient journey challenge? Who are the potential partners we need to get together? And then how we can solve this issue in the right governance framework. And if AI is a solution, that is fine. We can use AI to streamline the process. So I think this is one area pharma invested very less. And in the future, I think that will make the huge difference on the companies who will thrive on all this changing AI world. So that's what I'm observing. But maybe I'm wrong, but that is the reflection that I have.
Yeah, it's encouraging to hear it for sure. Angela, any more on this patient topic? Or
I think Najadi covered it well.
Yeah. Okay. So I think now might be a good time to start to open the floor to questions. So we've had a very active chat in the webinar discussion. Thank you to all of you from around the world for connecting. It's really exciting to see that we have people from different time zone logging in. So one of the questions is about the global versus local. I mean, this is something that seems to be creating quite a lot of challenges.
More noise, huh?
for each one of you. So the question is, for people who have been experiencing an increasingly more centralized approach in their own organization, whereby as a means of saving overheads, I believe, the global processes and messages are prevailing to the detriment of the freedom to operate at affiliate level. So do you have views, panelists, as to what is the right balance and how do we manage the tension between both? I mean, perhaps AI in enhancing communication and transparency has a role to play, but I'll leave it to you to answer.
If I can, I started that discussion. Let me try to answer the challenge that I created, okay? So how I see this? From a global, okay, I think there needs to be a strategy, as Ilya has mentioned, okay? Let me give examples. You are working with Viva, you are working with Salesforce, you are working with SAP. These companies are not sitting, correct? They are improving significantly with or their offerings with AI innovation. So if I will be sitting in the boards of these decisions, I will get the maximum of it to be used across the board globally, focus on the change management and deploy it across the board. When it becomes a patient journey related innovation, I will empower the local. I will not do it at the global, okay? Because it is totally local, totally close to the customer. And in the area where the global doesn't innovate, but it's a priority or a potential growth opportunity for the markets, I will give the opportunity to innovate. So that is how I will make that differentiation, not to kill every innovation on piloting every item. Select the big bets where I want to innovate with these enterprise vendors, or what I want to do centrally, maybe 2 to 3 or 5 programs centrally, and then give the autonomy for the others, but at least create a visibility. This is the global what will come. This is the timeline. This is the cost. This is how it will operate. And this is the area you can play. This is the governance that you need to work on. And if you want to do it internally, if you have the capabilities, try. If you don't have it, find the right vendors and pilot it. If you show the success, then we can consider maybe a global program on the way. So that is how I will tackle this global to local discussion. But there is no one answer because it requires a discussion and not each pharma is the same. Yes. From a capability, from
yes,
a capacity,
for sure. I mean,
or the patient journey.
I mean, on the content stage, we see massive differences between global, like some top 10 or top 20 and the mid-size. Of course, the mid-size tend to play catch up a lot of the time, and it's very hard for them to see that they do not have the resources to implement, what would be in an ideal world, what they would like to do. So yes, I'm very familiar with that. But I'd like to introduce another question from the audience. Sarah asking, beyond the incremental changes on how we work, such as AI coaching, AI for content creation, MLR, etc., what are the most significant possible commercial and organizational transformation that lie ahead? So I'd like you to take a bit of a futurist standpoint and say, in your wildest dream, where do you want to be tomorrow?
Oh, that's a good question. It's quite dangerous when you position it as a dream, so I'll watch what I say. Look, if we are being futuristic and we see that there's a lot of discussion at the moment about the human versus the AI agent, like agentic AI. I don't think that's going to dissipate. I think this conversation is going to increase, because as such as the AI advancement, of course, there's an opportunity for more tasks to be automated. So it will be a ways of working. How do now we work? The way that we work today will be fundamentally different in 5 years' time, potentially, because we see it in other industries. I mentioned at the beginning of the call, like financial services, you can sit in a team, but you're complemented by agents, by bots, when potentially in a team you're working with about 10 or 20 bots, and you're collaborating and disseminating the workflow across both. So where it will go for pharma, I'm not entirely sure, but that conversation, it's very much alive, and we are doing agentic AI in some way, shape, or form. Where that will end up, who knows?
Okay. Irja, do you have your own vision?
I truly believe, sure, Angela said it's going to be very different. I truly believe it's going to be very based on insights. Right now, most of the things we do are based on beliefs, or someone believe, or someone thinks, or whatever, and then we send the people on the field because we believe that that is what makes sense. I truly believe we will still need to have people on the field, but they will be insights agents. They will be getting information that probably will not be able to get through the social media listening, normal research, you name it. We will build campaigns and activities, but they will tailor based on behaviors, on prevalence in the market, on maturity for the customer. So I don't think that pharma as a function would change. What I think is the role we're going to do, the job we're going to do, is going to be much more impactful than what is it today. So we will need much more deep expertise in the different functions for them to bring their very best for whatever they are going to do next. I love, because I think it was Jeff Bezos that said the other day, it's like, I'm not concerned that there is not going to be jobs for people, because the reality is we're going to be solving problems that we haven't ever thought we were going to be able to solve. And now we have the opportunity to solve them. Now we have the opportunity, when we have a drug, to really tangible know how many eligible patients we have per market, where it makes more sense to start, which type of doctors and which type of education will make much more sense. So I think we will be able to be much more targeted than what we are today, and we'll be able to learn much more from data that I think in R&D they are doing a lot, but my personal belief, we don't do it enough in commercial. So I am very optimistic for the future to come. So jumping is here to stay. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think the sky is the limit to whatever we will be able to do with this.
So I like what you say about specialists, the need for increasingly hiring specialists who are going to be able to ask the right question and then get the tools to support finding the answer. So one question from Dave was actually to talk about, how do you plan to use AI to break down knowledge barriers in your companies by surfacing data and insights, as you call them, in order to accelerate decision making? Because one of the big breaks in anything to do with pharma is the siloed nature of the organization. There are good reasons, historical reason why it was done that way. Those reasons are slowly disappearing as you need to integrate functions. But I don't know, does any of you want to comment on the how do we manage to know exactly what's going on in the organization and what's going on in the market as well?
Sabina,
go
when you go,
Angela.
sorry. You go. I know we're right at time, but
okay.
please.
Okay, that's fine. So the only thing that I will say, I am a believer on insights, collection, data-driven decision-making, but the lacking point is not the data that we don't have, okay? The lacking, we don't talk, okay? So that is why if we have the right spirit of breaking the silos and talk, I think we will find the exact output of this data-driven decision-making insights. I don't think AI will solve our silo or
So it's a policy.
the communication gap discussion.
And the governance issue, do you believe?
No, it is a cultural topic. We need to be okay to challenge ourselves, talk, and accept the others may be right, and that's fine. It's not the title. It's not so it is. AI will not solve our decision-making problems. Okay, it will help us. Okay, to be seem more smart, but still we need to do the social connection and influencing skills right.
I'd like to give the last word to Angela because she wanted to also
just very quickly. It was a great question. Cross-functional teams. That's how we'll solve a lot of what we do. Agile ways of working and agile principles. I would nominate that.
Okay, so Irja, you can have the very last word, and then we're on time.
No, I think we said it all. Let's move from data to insights. Let's move from silo to community. Let's just do it now.
Thank you. This was a really exciting discussion. I hope that our audience has enjoyed it, and feel free to forward questions to people on LinkedIn, if you have any more. But it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.